Breaking news! When everything seems calm, Brad Holmes is on the radar to take advantage of the best opportunities before the season starts for the Detroit Lions. Today, a report arrived on a subject that is generating discussions among analysts and fans of the Lions. A rookie, a sixth-rounder, has become the center of expectations that may be getting out of control. Is this a case of premature hype, or are we about to discover a hidden gem? I'll tell you everything I know so far. But before we continue, be sure to like if you're a true Lions fan. It's always amazing to see fans of all ages cheering for this team. And if you want, comment, "Go, Lions! I want to see you in Super Bowl 60. Well, let's go. The Detroit Lions made a few moves this offseason, nothing too impactful, and that left us thinking. Dan Campbell needs a very strong team to make it to the playoffs and dream of a Super Bowl. Now, a subject that has been getting a lot of attention is about this player here, Akmed Hassanine. The rookie defensive end has captured the imagination of Lions fans not only for his physical potential, but also for his incredible attitude and history. He is a guy who, right off the bat, declared that he would die for Coach Dan Campbell. For many fans, that was all they needed to hear. But here's the thing, he hasn't played a single down in the NFL yet. And still, there are voices elevating him to mythical levels, comparing him to the likes of Hutchinson. That's where the controversy begins. Is the hype for real, or are we projecting our dreams onto a player simply because we want his story to be true? Let's talk context. Hassanine was a sixth-round pick. That's the same round where many promising players fade into obscurity. Fans have pointed to Matthew Judon as a success story from that late in the draft. But how often does lightning strike twice? The studio crew has raised valid points. This guy hasn't even passed Josh Pascal or Muhammad on the depth chart yet. He's got a long way to go before he's contributing on Sundays. Kelvin Shepard, one of the team's respected voices, made it clear Hassanine has a lot to learn. Even Brad Holmes and Dan Campbell have tempered expectations, labeling him simply as a rookie without leaning into the fan-fueled narrative of a breakout superstar. Compare that to Hutchinson, who was dominating in college and taken second overall for a reason. He's proven himself at the NFL level and continues to raise the bar. The pressure's on Hutch to repeat, but the expectations being laid on Hassanine? Those might be misguided. We've seen this movie before. Remember James Houston? A flash of brilliance, sure, but he started on the practice squad. Malcolm Rodriguez? A hard-working grinder who's now just a depth piece. And yet, the excitement around Hassanine feels different, bigger, perhaps even irrational. Some fans are already imagining him sacking quarterbacks from day one, despite evidence suggesting he's got a steep learning curve ahead. Adding to the doubt is the cold, hard stat. During his college career at Boise State, Hassanine only faced 4 offensive linemen who eventually got drafted. And in a key bowl game, he was reportedly outmuscled by a backup. That's not the kind of dominance you'd expect from someone fans are touting as the next big thing. Of course, every player deserves time to grow. Hassanine might very well prove all the doubters wrong. Maybe in a few years, we'll look back at this preseason chatter and laugh, amazed that anyone questioned his potential. But right now, the reality is that he's a late-round pick with a lot to prove, and the expectations might just be too high, too soon. So, Lions fans, here's the million-dollar question as we look ahead to OTAs and training camp. Are we setting Akmed Hassanine up to fail by placing the weight of a franchise's hope on his rookie shoulders? What do you think? What if we're not just setting him up to fail, but setting ourselves up for disappointment? That's the uncomfortable question lingering beneath the surface of the Akmed Hassanine hype train. Because while it's inspiring to root for a long shot, there's a fine line between hope and delusion. And in Detroit, that line is starting to blur. Let's step back and look at this with clear eyes. Training camp hasn't even started. We've yet to see Hassanine in pads, lining up against seasoned NFL linemen. Yet the conversation around him is not about whether he'll make the team. It's about when he'll become a starter. That's not just optimistic. It's unprecedented for a sixth-round pick who hasn't yet cracked the depth chart. Remember, even James Houston, who flashed massive potential, didn't make the 53-man roster as a rookie and needed time on the practice squad before emerging. Hassanine has something Houston didn't, a raw, contagious energy that fans and media alike have latched onto. His "die for Dan Campbell" comment wasn't just a soundbite, it was a rallying cry. Detroit fans love players who wear their heart on their sleeve, and Hassanine fits the mold. But heart alone doesn't get you past NFL-caliber offensive linemen. That's where coaching, technique, and experience come in. And right now, Hassanine is still learning the fundamentals of the pro game. Dan Campbell and Brad Holmes aren't oblivious to the fan excitement, but their public comments have been measured. They know the jump from college to the NFL isn't just about passion, it's about execution. And to their credit, they're managing expectations. They see Hassanine's potential, sure, but they're not crowning him the next Hutchinson. That's something the fans and some content creators are doing all on their own. And speaking of Hutchinson, he's the other side of this coin. A top draft pick, he entered the league with sky-high expectations and somehow managed to exceed them. Now, entering his third season, Hutch has the pressure of leading this defensive front, carrying the load, and improving upon an already impressive resume. While the spotlight on Hassanine is based on what if, the one on Hutch is grounded in what's next. And that's a heavier burden. Some fans argue that Hassanine actually has more pressure on him because of the spotlight and attention. But let's be honest, that spotlight exists only because we've placed it there. The front office didn't draft him to be a day one star. They drafted him as a project, a high-motor, high-character guy with a ton of upside but just as many question marks. Even comparisons to Ziggy Ansah, who was also raw but taken in the first round, are flawed. Ziggy was an athletic freak who was new to football but had top-tier physical tools and was heavily coached up. Hassanine might share a similar late-start background, but he doesn't come with the same draft capital or expectations from the team, just from the fans. And that's where we need to be careful. Because when expectations are inflated beyond reason, disappointment can sour what should be a feel-good story. If Hassanine doesn't break out immediately, does that mean he's a bust? Of course not. But in the court of public opinion, especially in today's social media era, perception often becomes reality. That's unfair to the player and damaging to the team culture. It's also worth noting the development curve for defensive ends. Even highly touted edge rushers usually need a year or two to find their footing. Technique, hand placement, leverage, these are skills honed over time, not overnight. If Hassanine is truly going to become a contributor, it may not happen in his rookie year. It might not even happen until his second contract. And that's okay. What's not okay is setting the bar at Aiden Hutchinson levels and then questioning the kid's value when he inevitably falls short, at least at first. Let's remember what makes Detroit fans special: our loyalty, our love for the underdog, our ability to rally behind gritty, hard-working players. But let's not let that passion turn into pressure that stifles a young man's growth before he's even had the chance to prove himself. So here's the real challenge for Lions fans this season. Can we truly embrace Akmed Hassanine's journey without rushing to write his ending before it even begins? Can we stand by him through the inevitable rookie mistakes, the tough lessons, the learning curve that every young player must face when they step into the NFL spotlight? Because if we allow this story to develop on its own timeline, without forcing the next chapter, we might just witness the rise of a player who embodies everything Detroit loves. Not a ready-made superstar, but a gritty underdog who earns every single snap. A player who wasn't handed greatness, but chased it down the hard way, with passion and perseverance. That's the essence of Lions football, right? Supporting the ones who fight their way up, not just the ones with flashy draft pedigrees. Hassanine might not be Hutchinson, at least not yet, but that doesn't mean his story won't be worth the wait. Now I want to hear from you. Do you think Lions fans are putting too much pressure on Hassanine too early? Or is the excitement completely justified? Could we be on the verge of discovering a hidden gem? Or are we setting unrealistic expectations that he may never reach? Let me know your thoughts in the comments. And if you enjoyed this breakdown, make sure to hit that like button, subscribe for more, and stay tuned as we follow every twist and turn of this season. Until next time, go Lions!